All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Heck, Goose, and phed5, Artifact. In this episode, we have special guest, phed5. We cover topics that range from graffiti, breakdancing, skateboarding, 90s Philly culture, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from H.G. Wells and Hellen Keller. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, phed5, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump right into it. For those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Currently, I've been focusing a lot of my energy around my my graffiti, and I've been doing that for probably about 20 plus years. I'm a father. I was a big skateboarder growing up, but mainly these days I'm focusing a lot of my energy on my art.
Yeah.
So that's just a little, piece about who I am there.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so graffiti, right? How did you get involved? Did it start off like drawing on notebooks in school and all that jazz, or how did you actually get started?
Yeah, it definitely started off that way. But I think what really got me motivated to do graffiti was those train rides that I was taking down Philly at an early age when I was going to skateboard. Like, I ran with this group of people that, like, we used to write like little silly tags around, like we called ourselves Team Level. So everybody wrote this tag, Team Level. And we started writing it around. But like there came a time when I decided, like, you know what, I have to have my own word.
Yeah,
we're all writing the same word.
Yeah.
I need my own word.
Right.
But those train rides to Philly to go skate Love Park, I mean, like seeing the graffiti along those train routes was like so inspiring to me. It was art, you know what I mean? Like, it was beautiful, it was colorful, and like that was like the kind of nudge I needed to go to that next, level. And, I think that's kind of how it all started. I mean, don't get me wrong, like notebooks in school, definitely I was sitting there doing that too,
Yeah.
But that was like, seeing that work was just amazing to me.
Right.
That's kind of like what kick-started it all.
So. And so that's all kind of part of the culture, right? So if you're skateboarding, you're breakdancing, the graffiti, it almost kind of came with it. But it's interesting because you're good at all of them. So typically someone's like just can appreciate the graffiti but did skateboarding, right? Or can appreciate breakdancing and doing crazy windmills and all this other jazz, or crazy footwork, but was really a graffiti artist, or the vice versa. It's very rare to see someone combine all three or have the ability to do all three.
I just wanted to do everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I wanted to be a break dancer. I wanted to do, graffiti, the street culture, hip hop culture. I wanted to be part of that. You know what I mean? So like, and I just did everything I could. Breakdance, graffiti. I even like tried my hand at like DJing a little bit with my buddies' turntables. You know what I mean? I just wanted to do everything.
Yeah.
Graffiti, though, was like creation. It was, I was creating something, you know what I mean? And like, that's the one thing that really got me going, you know what I mean? But like, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah.
All of it, you know?
So when you started creating your own name or, word, or found your own word, what was kind of like the first steps in that process? Did you kind of just like move away from the whole group thing, or you just kind of, and you did your own, or it was just more like you didn't really tell anyone and you did your own thing?
I think when I got my my first word, it was kind of one of those things where like I kind of branched off a different way from like, my homeboys at the time. Yeah. Because we were all writing Level, and that was like our little skateboard team name. Like back in those days, it wasn't rare for like your skateboard crew to have a name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like we called ourselves Team Level, and we all wrote that. But like it was kind of weird branching out and changing that name. I kind of felt like I was maybe like, I don't know, like maybe they would have thought I was like switching up on those guys, or you know what I mean?
Right,
like, I don't know, but like I kind of just went out on my own after that, and did the graffiti life. You know what I mean? I still skated, don't get me wrong. I still hung out with those guys, but like it was just a new path for me, I guess.
Yeah. So he comes in, and again, they say this all the time. If you're new and you have a product, bring it to the show. We can number one, we could show it off, but we could talk about it, and you walk the walk, right? So you brought in a piece for me. So I just, the reason why I want to highlight this really quick is because he did it today is one, but explain your process, right? Because I love getting into the mind of an artist. How did you even come up with, you start with what? A word, and you start, and then where do the colors come from?
Obviously, you know, it says phed5. I mean, it might be kind of hard for you guys to be able to see the letters in there, but like to me and like other graffiti artists, they would be able to pick that up pretty easily. Like, what's important to me with graffiti is you have to be able to see the letters. I know it's probably difficult for you guys to see, like I said before, but like I can see them very easily. You know what I mean? And it's got to have a nice balance. You know what I mean? The letters got to be kind of like the same size width and everything like that. The color scheme, I don't know, they kind of just come to me on the fly. Yeah. As I'm creating, you know what I'm saying? So like, but yeah, I'm glad you guys like it, man. You know,
there's at least like 8 to 10 colors. And this is
probably more than that.
Yeah, probably more than that, right? It's just what me and you had a conversation. So we were at the homegrown business, the storefront, and what captured me was how clean the lettering was. And even up close, we're staring at at this brick wall, and it's inside the building. Mike reached out to you, and I don't know how that all happened. You could explain it, but as the art director, or what your title is, you could explain how did that all even come about, and then we could talk about our conversation.
All right, so like you talked about like being clean with the graffiti, like the crisp lines. So like that's a huge thing to me. Like when someone walks up to my graffiti piece, I want them to look at it, and I want them to be like, wow, like it's hard for me to believe he did this with a spray paint can. Yeah. And it's all spray paint. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's layering, and it's learning how to cut your lines a certain way. But that's like super important to me. Like there's a lot of people out there that have great work, but when you walk up to it really close and you look at it, it's not super clean. To me, it means something to be super clean. And then as far as homegrown goes, like I've known Mike like my whole life. He's been my homie forever, and when I heard he was starting this lifestyle brand, like I wanted to be part of it, you know what I mean? And I started going down there and just doing a little bit of work for him, you know what I mean? Like just painting a shop here and there, a couple pieces here, a couple pieces there. I even designed a couple like prints for some of his shirts, And as time went by, the whole art director thing kind of popped up. I was like, you know what? I'm doing a lot of work for you down here. Like maybe I should be like, I think that'd be a cool title.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can help you out with this.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's kind of how like the whole art director homegrown came about. But he's doing a great job down there, by the way. He really is.
All right. So to get back into like the creative mind, is there, when someone starts a piece, is there a style that one can have when it comes to this, or you kind of just lean towards very intricate lettering and stuff like that?
I mean, you have straight letters, blockbusters, throw ups that are like kind of like bubble letters. Okay. I mean, there's all types of different styles. You know what I mean? Like I think like the most creative people out there, they have their own style.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's some people, I look at their stuff and I'm just like, it's amazing how they created this piece of work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it blows me away. And I think like some of the best artists out there, they just have their own style. You know what I mean? But there's all types of different ways to break it down. You got wild style graffiti. That's kind of like wild style. There's a lot of other stuff going on other than my letters.
Got it.
You know what I mean? But then you got your standard straight letters. It's very simple, like the blessed there. Yeah. It's very simple block letter style. People paint. Some people love that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and it's great. It's legible. You know what I mean? But I've always liked that wild style graffiti. That's a little crazier, but you still want to be able to see your letters. Like most graffiti artists would look at that and be able to tell what that says right away. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but there's styles vary. I mean, there's so many different styles. They vary.
So when what kind of pride, can you explain, the pride that you take, like for example, if you were to share this with another graffiti artist who kind of knew, how would that work?
Well, as far as like pride goes with my work, so like when I have some downtime on the job, I spend a lot of time sketching and doodling, and I'll put together about 20 sketches throughout the course of the week. By the time the end of the week comes about, I might have one that I like enough to paint.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So like I have like folders beyond folders, stacks that are just black and white sketches. Most of them I can't stand. But there's a few in there I like. You know what I'm saying? Like with this one, I actually just got that tattooed on me, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, like that's how much I liked that piece. Like
Wow.
I got that one tattooed on me a few days ago.
That is
awesome.
awesome.
And let me tell you something, like when the whole idea came about, I was like, listen, this is my word. You know, I wanted to get, you know, a couple more tattoos. And I just, coming up with that Fed piece was just like so crazy to me. It was like, it's got to be perfect in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't, like I even, like the guy that did my tattoo, he's also a graffiti artist. And like I almost like, I was pondering around with the notion maybe letting him do my word. But then I thought about that. I'm like, why should he do my word? It's me. You know what I mean? Like I should do this.
Right.
But I'm a hard critic on myself. So I was just beating myself up on like, you know, what sketch to go with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was literally looking at a pile of 100 sketches like, oh man, I don't know which one to use, but I landed on this one and I was really happy with it when it was said and done. So
nice. I like it. It's fantastic. All right. So when someone is putting a piece together, can you explain like a few of the basics, right? And in my mind, if as an average person, we have like a little bit of, you know, artistic ability in our families, but not to, I mean, I can't speak for myself, not to this ability. When I look at something and, you know, I look at an art piece and I'm like, first of all, look how, you know, the detail of it, right? The colors, how many colors they're using, the location, how the hell did that person get up there?
Sure.
Right? And the size, that's a massive piece, right? So you can have like a real small piece, a massive piece, very colorful. What other component that makes it like an impressive tag?
I think you kind of nailed a lot when you said that, you know, as far as like location, like, man, like these days graffiti is like so acceptable. It's not like it was like 10 years ago.
Right.
10 years ago, everybody hated it. But now it's like, I think with the rise of social media, it's becoming so accepted now.
Yeah.
You know, but like as far as breaking down the process a little bit, like, you know, I feel like I wasn't always the greatest artist.
Sure.
I feel like, yeah, I had some creative talent maybe, but it was a grind to get where I was at. You know, I was sketching every single day, you know, like, and it was like taking those letters and bending them and stretching them, you know, and I mean, sketch after sketch after sketch. I don't even know how many sketches I've done in my lifetime. I've probably done close to like, you know, 1 million sketches. Like, who knows? So like, you know, it's been a grind. It really has. It still is. You know, it's been a grind, and but it's great, man. I've been having a good time with it. But it's stretching and bending them letters. Taking your time, stretching and bending them letters. Find out. You know, you got to come up with something you like too. You know, like if you're not happy with your work, then you know you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing.
Yeah.
You know.
So I always used to like doodle on and in no way I'm comparing any of this, but I was just so for example's sake, I would get all my notebooks at school or whatever, and I would write, my nickname was James. So what always killed me about every time I wrote James and like what I defined as graffiti was my S's. And my S's were driving me crazy. I'm like, I hated the way they looked. So I always like look up like, what is like the best or good looking S to me? And then I kept practicing. Dude, now I could do it with my eyes closed. For me, what was like a perfect S. So can you explain about that? Like you can start off.
Dude, that's an awesome letter.
Yeah.
I love S's.
Yes.
Like, you know, like, dude, that's like one of the S's and E's are like awesome letters, man.
Yeah.
But like the J's a tough one. So like the J, the way the J works, it's like the active part of the J goes out to the left when you write on a piece of paper.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like a lot of the other letters, they go out to the right. Like
gotcha.
The active part of like an R goes out to the right side. You know, Y's and J's, they go out to the left side. They're a little trickier, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? But like as far as letters go, like S, great letter. E's, great letter. You know, like
What else is a hard? I think I would feel like. What about X? That's kind of both.
X is just. It's not. It's so.
Just there.
Yeah, it's just like
Can't do
it's
much
not
with
a
it.
common letter.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
So like
that's
I
true.
feel like it's not experimented with enough or something like that. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Like graffiti artists can do some dope X's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like it's just not a very common one. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like when someone does the letter X, it's like a block letter, so it's very legible or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, but
What about the what's like outside? So you got the S's, the E's. Is there any other letter that's either you like or is challenging?
Z's are pretty cool. I like Z's.
And
Man, I don't know. Like I like them all.
So do you mix? Is there another thing where it's like you have to have when it comes to uppercase and lowercase? Are you allowed, or is there like a thing where it's like you can't mix in between?
It's funny. Like there's no rule. So some people might say, well, if you're doing like a lowercase letter, you got to continue with the lowercase letters to finish your word out.
Right.
But there's no real rule about that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You just start drawing something. If it looks good, it looks good. You
Yeah.
know? Like,
So can you explain a little bit about, I know me and you had a conversation because I was just fascinated with your work, and if anyone wants to see it, check out either Homegrown, and obviously we'll give out your, it's phed5, right?
Yep.
Just at phed5,
yep.
PHED and the number 5.
Yep.
So you can check out his work there, but I was just talking about how clean, it literally looked like someone did it with markers. This is how clean these lines were, and that's what captured my mind. Coming from someone obviously doesn't have too much knowledge, but that was what I noticed first. I'm like, how close did you get this? Are your fingers jacked up from holding the can that long? And he's like, yes to all the above. So explain, like, when you're in close quarters, and what the me and you had a conversation with new school and old school.
Right. I think it's hard for people to wrap their head around those clean lines because, if anybody picks up a can of spray paint off the shelf at a store and they spray it, you're going to have like a haziness to that line when you spray it.
Exactly.
But like these newer caps that they have, I mean, the lines are so crisp and clean. Plus, the paint that I currently use now, it's not like your Rust-Oleum or Krylon spray paint. It's this company called Montana, and they make some really good low-pressure cans. So it's very easy. You can actually spray the can and hold it on the wall for a little bit, and it won't run. You know what I mean? It will if you hold it there like pretty long. But I mean, like, it's not like a can of like Rust-Oleum. When you spray that stuff on the wall, if you don't move your hand, you're gonna have drips down the wall. This low pressure paint, this thick low pressure paint by Montana, you don't get any of that, But there's also a technique called like cutting lines, and that technique is like when you're doing your outline. You kind of overshoot your outline a little bit, and then you go back with your fill color and kind of cut off your outline, and it makes your edge like as sharp as this business card. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to explain it to you, but you'd have to see it. But there's just a technique to get it clean like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so me and you had a conversation regarding old school and new school. So very briefly, can you explain what the difference is and why each take pride in what they do? So
old school and new school, I mean, if you're talking about graffiti, it's kind of like, I feel like the old school in the 80s was like, okay, let's start out with the 80s. I mean, we'd have to dial down what's old school. We got 80s,
True.
90s, 2000s. Like, what's old school? To me, old school is that stuff I see like the old Subway art book. It's like old school New York City graffiti. That's
Right.
like old school to me. And that was like, that stuff kind of paved the way for everything, And a lot of those pieces back then were just kind of like big blockbuster, legible words. And like, I think as time went by, you started getting like wilder letters. People started really experimenting. I mean, in the beginning, it was just simple as just writing a word on the wall. You know what I mean? Just block letters on the wall. And then 10 years go by into the 90s, and then you got people that are kind of like starting to stretch and bend those letters. Then you go into like the 2000s, and it's like, it's just crazy by then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, like, I give so much respect to like those old school writers. They paved the way for everything. You know what I mean? Like, I got like books and like archives and just photos of like so much of that stuff, you know. And you got to give nothing but respect to those guys that paved the way, you know. But I mean, that's kind of like the best I can do, like breaking that down.
Yeah,
like,
for
you know,
sure.
it started out with just big block letters, and then it got more advanced, and then like, you know, where we're at today, it's like just crazy cool graffiti.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, it's, and the paint just came, like the evolution in paint is, you know, that's another thing. Like back then it was like you got what was on the hardware store rack. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sure.
Nowadays, if you look at like a Montana color chart, I mean, there's 200 plus colors to pick from. Stuff that's made for graffiti. It's like,
That's wild.
amazing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's expensive, you know, but like, I mean, what's the price on a dope piece of artwork? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You can't put a number value on a dope piece of artwork. You know, I mean, you're going to spend the money, you know, so.
So speaking of colors, can you explain a piece that you all did? It was yourself and two other artists that used the same color palette, right? Same background.
Okay, yeah.
And explain, you know, the significance of that. Because I remember having a conversation with you, like you always wanted to do that, but it just never panned out with any other artists.
Yeah,
But somehow this
so-
lined up right.
I think what it was, like prior to doing that wall, it's very hard to get everybody on the same page. You know, so everybody's got to have the same paint. They got to be willing to do the same things. You know, it just, you know, when you ask someone to go painting with you, a lot of the time it's like, yeah, I'll go painting with you. And they bring their paint, you bring your paint, and then you just do whatever.
Right.
You know, but like having the spot down at Homegrown to paint, like I was able to like fulfill that dream to make that production come true.
Yeah.
You know, and I got a couple of my really close friends, my buddy Mike and my buddy V came down, and they helped me kind of like put that into motion, you know, and I was able to like, you know, gather up the same paint, and you know, we were able to make that production work. It was awesome. Like I just think it's, graffiti artists are never that prepared.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of it is just like kind of like fly by the seat of your pants or whatever. You know what I mean? You grab your paint and you go, and that's it. You know?
Right.
But it was cool to be able to organize that. We did like a really cool like Egyptian, you know, pharaoh, you know, hieroglyphics in the background. It was pretty cool. I did like a bunch of like old like cuneiform writing.
Yeah.
It was like Egyptian cuneiform writing, and then like I made like a little portrait of like Ra, the sun god, and then Anubis. I needed a picture of him too. Like it was definitely pretty cool, man.
Awesome.
You know.
Yeah. It was, I mean, you walk down and it just popped, and it's crazy because each person did their own tag, but it was all the same colors. You're like, that's the same, but it's way different. That's the same, but it's way different.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. It was cool to see.
it was just one of them things where it's like, all right, listen, guys. I was like, here's our outline color. When I put, you know, this is the color we're going to outline with, and these three colors are the colors we're going to fill our piece in with. You know,
Right.
and then as we go, we'll add some more colors. But we just got to, you know, share the paint, so
Yeah.
everything looks the same. So.
Yeah.
But
No.
end result, I was happy with it, and I'm sure you know you liked it, and you know it was cool.
Yeah, super
Very cool.
creative. All right, so explain the tools, right? Because we haven't even gone over this. So what's really needed, and we definitely want to get into the cool looking mask.
Definitely, if you're gonna paint, you should wear a mask every time.
Yeah.
Every time you should wear a mask. I mean, I'm a little guilty of not using it sometimes when I paint outside, but if you're indoors, there should be no question about it. It's not good for your health if you're breathing that stuff in.
Yeah.
So definitely get yourself a good mask. Caps, there's so many different kinds of caps now. The evolution with the caps has came so far. There used to be a fat cap, a thin cap, and a German fat cap. There was like 3 caps when I first started. Now there's hundreds. I don't even know where to begin. I just found one that I like. You know, I bought a bunch of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, you know, the paint, oh man, there's so many paints now too. Like Montana's like super, that's like my go-to is Montana paint, you know. And then I'll use like, I I've used Belton. Belton's supposed to be like the high class stuff.
Okay,
you know, it's
okay.
the European high class stuff. You know, there's not many vendors around here that sell that. You know, so I end up using like Montana a lot. But you know, just like the caps, the paint has evolved so much, and there's just so much of it out there. You know what I mean? So, but that's all you really need, man. Is you need the caps, you need the paint, and you need your mask. Definitely, if you're painting inside, you need that mask. You know,
And your imagination.
Yeah.
So
I bring a sketch with me too. Like so, like
Oh, nice.
some people they call it freestyle, and some people what they'll do is they'll go to the wall, and right off the top of their head they'll just throw it down and create something right then and there.
Sure.
Like with me, I don't like doing that because like I'm such a hard critic of myself. I want to be able to see what it looks like before I put it on the wall. That's just my thing. You know?
So all the stuff you did at Homegrown, you have a sketch for?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's
a
awesome.
sketch
That's
or
cool.
a canvas or something. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So with social media being, you know, what the beast that it is there anywhere, you know, anyone, first of all, anyone you follow or who does, you know, this kind of artwork, or is there like groups out there to kind of stick together or kind of critique each other to help each other build, or is there, you know, what's the community like on social media?
Man, so like the graffiti community on like social media is crazy. So like I've done graffiti for 20 years, but there was a time when I walked away from it. There was a time when like a lot of my friends were getting in some trouble. They were going down some rough roads, you know, and I was kind of following behind them, and I had to make a choice. And I stepped away from graffiti for like, I want to say like 7 or 8 years. And when I came back, that's when like the rise of social media was going on.
Yeah.
And social media changed graffiti like so much. I mean, it's like you're able to like communicate with people that you would have never been able to if not for like social media.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
For sure.
there's some artists out there that like I always believed they weren't real. Like that dude was a ghost. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like and now it's like, oh, I can just DM that guy and talk to him. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, I don't know if that's good or bad. You know, some people go, oh, you shouldn't meet your idols. And some people go, yeah, meeting your idols was probably the best thing that can happen. But like for me, like I don't know if that's good or bad. I just know that like it's almost unfair because from where I came from and when I started, it was like it was hard work to get to meet some of those high caliber writers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like
sure.
there was a lot of legwork involved, and nowadays it's just like, hey, dude, what's up, man? Like you want to paint? Like so, like that's kind of like you know what's going on with social media. But there's definitely like a lot of like crews out there that I respect like crazy.
Sure.
Like there's you know like. There's some guys out of Philly that like are like my heroes when it comes to like graffiti. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're part of this Style Masters crew, and like they're just like super dope, you know. And like everybody that paints in TM7 is like, I was just recently put down with that graffiti crew, which is pretty awesome. Very very humbling, man. Like, I really respect the way those guys paint. You know what I mean? Like it was a humbling experience being put down with that graffiti crew. So. But yeah, that's kind of like the what happened with social media, you know. But yeah, so
yeah, no, absolutely. We say that all the time, right? It's amazing what social media does, and it is funny what you said, like meeting, you know, someone you've always looked up to, because that can be a scary thing. And the biggest thing is that person could just have a bad day that day, and that's the day that you met them, and then it just turned you off forever. So it is that like slippery that can happen.
Yeah,
we met somebody who I highly respected in our industry, and man, the reaction that we got, it wasn't even towards me. It was how we saw him treat someone else. I was so turned off. I was like, oh my God, this was... And I wasn't going in there like a little kid. I was just going in there like, I just wanted to, you know, shake his hand and get a picture, and that was the end of that. And then we just so happened to catch some like behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a movie. Like this really just... And Gabe was there. Like this really just happened. That was kind of super weird for me. Kind of totally turned me off, actually. And I don't really dig them anymore. It's weird and messed me all up. I'm like, dang.
And there's a part of me that feels like you probably should just remember those people like they were before. You know what I mean? Like some of those guys that like I thought they were like a ghost. I'm like, no one knew who these people were, but they were just awesome writers, and their works just popped up, you know. But now it's like with Instagram, it's like, oh, that dude's on Instagram. Let me hit him up. Maybe I can paint with him. It's like, it kind of took the fun out of it a little bit, to be honest with you. But you gotta ride the wave, man. That's what it comes down to. You gotta ride the wave.
So speaking of wave, where in your opinion, what's the future, right? Where can this go? Because it seems like it's getting, like you said, more in the public eye. It's more of a normal. It's more of a norm that people. This is like an accepted art form, where before it was kind of like, oh no, you're vandalizing X, Y, and Z in the 80s, and that's what it was. But now it's just like, dude, you guys are up for hire now.
Yeah, it's just so crazy, man. Like I never thought it would be where it's at today. I mean, like there's these paint companies are sponsoring these guys to go paint, and they're giving them the paint to do it, and who knew it would be there?
Yeah.
I never would have thought it would have been like that, but like it's taken off. I don't even know where it could go from here. Like
sure.
It's almost like maxed out to me. Like,
yeah.
I mean, can it go any? I guess it could pop up more often. On some properties. I don't know, but like it's amazing. How far it's came in the past. 10, 15 years, let's say.
We follow a guy and he just at a pure artwork. I don't even know exactly how this guy became famous, to be honest with you, and it was supposedly through this artwork. But he's gotten so famous where he starts working with like designers and stuff. Like, again, you would not have thought these people put out leather goods, and this guy's doing his artwork on these like $1,500 wallets, and you're like, what is going on now? And people are buying it, and it's like, I did not expect that at all.
The guy I was painting with a couple of months ago, he was in charge of doing all the graffiti for Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Wow,
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's wild.
His graffiti was in Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
It's like,
yeah, dude,
seriously,
that's where I want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That dude's my hero. That's what I want to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, see, something like that. That's mind blowing. Who would never thought of? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm saying, man. Like, there's clothing. Graffiti on clothing. Like, there's artists doing that. That video game was huge. I mean, it's definitely it's going to like so many different places. It's cool too. It's like skateboarding and graffiti kind of go hand in hand. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So it was kind of awesome that I did both those things.
Did you ever
not to toot my own horn, but like
that is cool.
How that came about.
Now you don't do graffiti on a skateboard.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah, I got some decks at home that I've done up.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Dang, that's pretty sweet. Wow, and then you get that, and then you do like a couple little breakdancing moves with the skateboard in your hand. You have all three.
Yeah, everything.
It's like, yeah, and I think it is one of those things where they all kind of went hand in hand. If you did one or the other, but I think for me was the most amazing part was, I tried a couple handstands. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't think that's for me. I'll just watch, observe, and respect the guys that can do it. The fact that you put all three together, or same thing, like I couldn't land a kickflip after 5,000 of them things. I'm like, dude, it's not cut out for me, dude. I think it's because I have flat feet. But to put them all together and actually live that lifestyle is something like almost like of a movie.
I mean, it's been a grind the whole way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a very determined person. So, like, whatever I picked up, skateboarding, drawing, graffiti, breakdancing, I took it to the extreme. It was a grind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't good instantly.
Yeah.
But I was determined. That's for sure. I'm determined now, too, to push my art to the next step as well. But, and I think, like, that's a big thing. If you want it, you got to stay determined and you got to go after it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. And been like that always, man. My parents used to always say, you skateboard to death. That's all you do. Do something else.
Yeah.
Is that all you're going to do is do graffiti? It's like, I spent so much time doing it. It's like, I can't blame them, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I'm determined and driven. That's
I love
kind
it.
of where I'm at.
They say success principles are the same across all platforms.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So how does one reach out to you for hire? Say they want to work with you on a specific project. How does that go down?
I would say currently the easiest way to reach out to me is through my Instagram. I spend most of my time on there, and just a direct message through Instagram is probably the best way to reach out if you need something done.
Absolutely.
If anybody's out there that needs some kind of commission work, just hit me up on my Instagram and, we'll discuss it and come up with an idea, So.
Absolutely. All right, so a question that I love to ask anyone who's on the podcast is, because first of all, I'm fascinated with people who are really good at what they do. One, two, family guys, right? And so all of us are family guys. But how do you balance? How do you go from crazy wild idea in your mind to then picking your kid up from school or something? It's like you have to come back down from all that craziness.
I don't know, man.
Isn't it crazy though?
Somehow I guess I make it work. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's tough, man. I'm a 9-to-5er, man. I got a union job. I'm the union shop steward. So I'm very busy on the job site.
Yeah.
And then it's tough juggling that 9 to 5 with my family and my art. You know, it's very hard, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job with it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's definitely a grind. I mean, you guys know how it is. It's family life and your job. It's tough. You know what I mean? But I got it. My wife's been a great support figure. She's been. I'd be lost without her. So definitely a big shout out to my wife Maria. So
perfect. All right. So what is your recommendation to anyone trying to start graffiti art?
Pencil and paper. Just start out on the notepad, man, and just bend them letters. Sketch, bend the letters. Don't be afraid to look at somebody else's work to get some ideas. Don't copy nothing though.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. You can't copy no one else's artwork. But you definitely got to start out on the paper before you even think about picking up a spray can. You know what I mean? That's just where it starts, on the paper.
Yeah. Before we close out, last question, just out of curiosity. Do you listen to music or anything while you're doing your art, or is it kind of one of the, you just want your mind to do its thing?
It's that's a good question. Sometimes I like listening to music when I'm doing it, but a lot of times I feel like I need a lot of concentration, and with the music going, sometimes I feel like it's a little too overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
But if somebody else puts on music while we're painting, it's excuse me, I don't mind it so much. You know what I mean? But if it's just me, I won't put headphones in or nothing like that because I want that
overstimulating.
That's just me. But like I said, if somebody else has got the boombox going or something like that, you know what I mean, or got their Bluetooth speaker or whatever, I won't stop them. You know what I mean? I'll just deal with it. But for me, I need the concentration. I need the quiet.
Yeah, for sure.
How is it when you're obviously where you put your art piece at, but when you're now on social media, right, you're following someone, you're and they're in front of your artwork, and you see, you're it's unexpected, you're scrolling, you're oh dang, I did that. When we went to Odd Logic, we seen your
that's right. Oh, I took a picture of it. And
we were there. That's his thing.
Right.
It's a pretty cool place, ain't it?
Yeah.
We're gonna have them on next week.
But when you're
it means a lot.
You see in Mike's spot too. I know he takes people to buy his apparel. He takes a picture in front of one of your paintings.
So homegrown. That's it. That's it.
Dude, we stopped. We were at Odd Logic and it was
nice.
He's yo, Fed did that, right? I'm like, wait, what? And we looked down. I'm like, that's awesome.
So, Tim, the owner of Odd Logic's been my boy for so long, and he posts that piece and a lot of it, with his new brews or whatever, his new beers, we'll put it down and I'll see my piece in the background. It's just cool, man.
Yeah, that's true.
It means a lot. You know what I mean? Same thing with Mike down at Homegrown. When those people are taking pictures in front of that, it feels good, man. It definitely does.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That is awesome. All right, so there you have it. We like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one's by Hellen Keller. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. And the second one by H.G. Wells. If you fell down yesterday, stand up today. Artifact. In this episode, we have special guest phed5. We cover topics that range from graffiti, breakdancing, skateboarding, 90s Philly culture, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from H.G. Wells and Hellen Keller. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success, available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.